Peace, family. A couple of quick announcements before we start the program. First and foremost, I want to tell everybody about the 2020 Ascension Conference happening November 3rd in New York City. I advise everybody to come to New York City, and if you're unable to come, make sure you get the pay-per-view live stream. But it's going to be an absolutely amazing spiritual event. The best way for us to bring in 2020. We got Red Pill speaking, Blue Pill speaking, Sri Master Gano Grills, and Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge. You know, the brother has over 1 million subscribers on Instagram and throughout his networks. And you know, it's just going to be a magnificent spiritual event. Make sure you're there. That's in St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, besides that, make sure you support King Simon November 10th. He's having his 24th celebration in promotion and production, and he's going to have a list of speakers there, and it's going to be magnificent. I know my brother KT, the Arch Degree, will be in the building that day, as well as other speakers. Also, make sure you hit the brother up as far as numerology. He will help you in terms of that sign, so make sure you contact the brother in terms of that. Shout out to my brother Mike, who has the crowns. If you see my brother Styles P right here, but you'll see everybody wearing these crowns in the conscious community. Red Pill, Blue Pill, Sarnetta, everybody got these crowns, and I advise you to get yours. All right. Besides that, I want to give a shout out to Lisa Brown. She has the best Kemetic yoga mats in the world, and everybody's getting them at this point. So I advise you to get yours, and make sure you get your yoga on. Shout out to Parindra Rajadeep, who got the organic products as far as stimulating growth, as far as alopecia, pain relief, and other things. Make sure you contact these individuals for help with that. Besides that, make sure you hit up riversideTaiChi.com for the joint balance formula. This has been selling great on the website. Glucose support formula, that's something else that's real good for stable blood sugar, so make sure you contact the brother for that as well. All right, family, besides that, we're going to get to the program. I got the sister Soleil on the show today. We're going to get right to it, and we're going to have an amazing conversation. The sister has a new album out. I want to talk to her about music, spirituality, and I guess just life in general. I'm sure she has a lot that she could school a young brother like me too, as well as many other people. Yeah, but first let me just say, sis, I've been watching your listening to your music since I was young, and you're an amazing artist, lyrical, not just up there, just very lyrical, and I could appreciate that. So I remember last year, I don't know if it was last year or early this year, you came out with the video for Pranayama. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Pranayama. We actually dropped Pranayama almost a year ago. It was like it'll be a year in November while we were finishing up the album, and it's on the new album. But yeah, I dropped that one in November of last year.
Yeah, that was fire. The visuals, the lyrics, the energy, everything. It was fire. So I'm glad you keeping it coming with the music. We're gonna talk about your new album. Let me just make sure the chat room is filling in fast tonight. Y'all must gonna support this sister and all buy her album after this show, because y'all filling it up fast. Let me just I gotta make sure. Okay, I'm doing it right. All right. Okay, so sis, let's start out. What's going on with you? What do you have new? What's going on with you? You got a new album out, correct?
Yeah, the album came out September 28th, and it was the 20th anniversary of my first album that came out on September 28th, 99. Skin Deep came out on DreamWorks Records in 99. And then I finished the second album, but I didn't drop it. I left the industry, didn't want to put the album out, had a complete um it was this awakening that had been already happening. I call it a remembrance. And then I left the industry and went on this journey of 20 years and circling back around and dropped my new album Encoded 20 years to the date that I dropped Skin Deep in September 28th, 99. So yeah, and so Encoded is out now on all the major streaming and digital platforms. And the new video just put out to it for the single called Daughter of
Daughters of
Earth.
the dope. I seen it. I was watching it early today. Definitely dope. Make
Thank
sure y'all check that out. By the end of the show, I have the link in the description so y'all could just click on it and go right to it. Before we get into this family, this interview, I want to shout out everybody. I hope yeah, they in the chat room. They like, we thirsty in here, Rich.
Aw.
Yeah,
I
a
can see
lot
the
of
chat
love and
room.
support.
I'm gonna let you just share with me what's going on over there.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat room showing love. I just want to remind everybody about the 2020 Ascension Conference happening November 3rd. Red Pill, Blue Pill, Billy Carson, Sri Master Gano Grills. Make sure y'all are in attendance, or if you can't make it to New York, get the live stream. And with that being said, let's get into this interview with the sister Soleil. You said something interesting. You said you don't know if you want to call it an awakening or a remembrance. Um, why do you say that during this hiatus during music? You said you went through an awakening or a remembrance. Why would you say it like that?
Because I believe that these who we are is who we always are, and sometimes we just don't remember who we are as our ancestors, as who we are brought to this earth. It's already encoded in our DNA. And so sometimes we have these, I mean, you can call it an awakening, you can call it a remembrance, whatever you choose to call it. I really choose to say that it is a remembrance of who I always was, who I came here as. And even when I put out the first album, even though, the album, um, it was a hood hip hop album. It was a reflection of my reality at that time. But when you listen to the album and listen to the songs, a lot of the messages were still positive. They might have been littered in hood vernacular, and I wouldn't even say littered, and vulgarity that I that I sprinkled all throughout it. But that was the space I was in at the time. But I was always very aware of the spiritual realm. I was born into a very spiritual family, and I was always connected and felt a deep connection to spirit, even when I was young. And so this awakening, that some people call it, is really just a remembrance of me awakening the um, what was already, like I said, encoded in the waters, in those hydrogen bonds of my DNA being awakened. And I remember, it's really that remembrance of who we are and who we've always been. So that was that journey that I went on when I left the music industry and really started to tap into that.
Dope, dope. What was it anything that triggered this awakening within the industry? Because I was just talking to Dame Dash, and I was telling the brother Dame, and from the outside looking in, we look at that industry. It's like, wow, those guys are like Satan worshipers, and they do rituals, and this happens and that happens, and you got to sell your soul. So was it like anything that you seen that was like, hell no, I know there's something. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I didn't experience any of that, but I
Mm.
also was the artist that, people see artists and see people on TV and assume that they are one way, especially if you present yourself one way. But I was actually, are people are always surprised when I say I was super nerdy. I mean, I was hood. I grew up in the hood. I grew up, very connected to the hood, and that was my experience. But I didn't do what people perceive to be hood things. So I was the artist that I wasn't on the road partying. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't drinking. I ain't never been drunk in my life. You know what I'm saying? I didn't talk
Mm.
about those things either, but I was the artist that did my music, did my show, went back to the room, carried books with me on the road, would read, would study. I would be watching documentaries, ordering room service, and chilling after the show. You never saw me out even at the club because I have never been a club person.
Mm.
Unless I was getting paid to do a walkthrough or something. So I didn't really, I came up in the industry because I had been performing for so long. Like, I wasn't an artist that just woke up and decided one day I want to be a hip hop artist. Like, I was writing poetry as a child. I was performing and doing theater and things like that as a child. And then hip hop, I was born in '73. Hip hop, um, the first time I heard a hip hop record, I was about 6 years old, and I memorized it. The first hip hop record I heard was Rapper's Delight, and I memorized that. And my brother would DJ, and so I would hear all the records coming up, and I memorized that. And then I wrote poetry, and then I started rewriting. I started rewriting other people's stuff. Like I was telling, Griff the other day that I rewrote Run DMC's My Adidas and wrote it Mama Kita about my cat. And so I started
Mm,
writing
mm,
rhymes like that as a little kid, and battling boys on a bus. And so um, I came up, I came up at that time, and when hip hop was going through its inception and all the way through the golden era of hip hop, and was just like a real hip hop head. And so I didn't just decide one day, oh, this is cool, and I want to be famous and a record. I actually was really good at it and good at writing and telling stories, and expressing myself that way, and everybody would be like, oh, she can actually spit. And so when I came up in the industry and I was around artists, most of my young adult life, because I was always performing, opening up for major acts that came through our city. And so I was around all of that. So when I got in the industry, it wasn't like, some people get in and get real excited about everything, but I had been around it, most of my life growing up. But I didn't experience a lot of what people talk about, but probably because I really did stay to myself. I did my art, and then I went back. And though I did, I've seen things, I've seen the way people move. I did have somebody literally proposition me, though, when I got out of my deal and said I no longer wanted to put that second record out, and I wanted to leave get out of that deal and go. At first, thought about getting another deal and doing songs in a project that I felt fit more what I wanted to represent. And I did have a meeting though with somebody that literally sat in the office and said, "What you gonna do for me?"
mm.
And I was
Wow.
like, "Give you a dope ass record." And they was like, "And what else you gonna do for me?" And I was like, "Not a damn thing." And I got my stuff and left. So that was the only experience I had like that. But as far as all the other stuff that people talk about, I know that it exists, but I haven't personally experienced it.
Indeed. Well, I thank you for sharing that story with us. In terms of you doing music, and your music is very uplifting, very motivating, very spiritual at this point in 2019, where we're getting, we experienced what a lot of the females were calling a hot girl summer. So, they was out there, you got Meg the Stallion out there. You got City Girls out there. I think her name is Young MIA. And there's a certain, people feel as though the music coming out, JD called it stripper culture. He said this is stripper music. And a lot of people got offended, but he was like, our music basically sounds like a bunch of strippers rapping. A lot, even the biggest female rapper out right now, Cardi B, is an ex-stripper. And a lot of females feel as though um, it's not stripping music. It's more liberating for a woman to be able to talk how she wants, to say, certain women on records say, suck my dick. I mean, go figure. Beyonce said that, matter of fact, on one of her records. The way they dress, the music, just everything. Some women feel as though it's liberating, and some people feel as though it's exploitation and it's degrading. And how can a woman show this part of her body or that part of her body? Somebody who's in the spirituality and has a full perspective on things when it comes to the divine feminine. What do you take a side? Do you see this in the middle? Is what we're witnessing with women and music culture, is it degrading? Is it liberating? How will you describe what you see going on right now?
Okay, first of all, let me say this. I don't listen to anything that's out current right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say every single person that you mentioned, um, I have never heard a full song of theirs. I've
Mm,
heard, and people find that like really hard to believe, but
mm,
the space that I'm in, I don't listen to any current music. Of course, I've heard those names because I have back out doing some things in music. I have, younger people, of course, in my family that have talked about and mentioned. I think I've heard one Cardi B song, but I just don't. I'm old enough to be something most of their mothers that you mentioned. You know what I'm saying? So at the space I'm at, 20 years ago, I probably would have listened to that. 20 years later, in the space I'm at spiritually, at the space I am at just in my life as a more mature woman, that the type of music that I understand that they put out and talk about just doesn't resonate with where I'm at, with where I'm vibrating on. So I don't listen. What I will say though is, in completely without judgment, I have been there. Now, I haven't done what they would call, stripper music in the sense of what they're talking about or supposedly talking about to the degree that they do. I have not done some of the videos and the type of images that I've heard they've done, but I did push the envelope a little bit in my day when I first came out. And that is it's really a reflection of the collective consciousness. So this
Mm.
music is reflecting. They wouldn't be as popular as they are if there wasn't an audience and market for it. And it is a reflection of what the collective is, the level that the collective is vibrating on. So completely without judgment of these women, this is just the space that they are in. I'm not saying it's a positive thing. I do feel like it can be very damaging, and the images, because we've gotten very far. There's a lot of the work that people don't know. When I left the music industry, I didn't just leave and go sit around and do nothing. I went on a very deep journey of study, and a lot of the things that I do now, I teach. I really teach in the feminine arts and women's wellness and healing. So I'm a practicing birth doula. I went and spent time in India studying yoga. I'm a certified yoga teacher. I teach mystical dance. I teach feminine divine feminine arts. I work in the priestess realms. I'm a clinical herbalist. So I work in a lot of other things. I mean, bio and wellness and women's wellness is really long. And I did a lot of deep study and sitting at the feet of elders and some ancestors now, and teachers and gurus in a lot of different spiritual paths and walks of life. And so I say this in saying that we have gotten very far away from what woman was several thousand years ago, and the reverence that was had for woman being divine, being seen as an aspect of the divine, this feminine aspect. So some people may see it as liberating. Some people may see it as a freedom of expression, but in my opinion, it's a very distorted and damaging image. And I'm trying to say this without honestly, without putting or make it seem like I'm putting them down in what they're doing, because my
Mm.
goal, I love all women, and I
Mm.
think all women are a reflection of the divine and the feminine aspect of divinity. However, some of it is very distorted, and they don't know, and they haven't remembered yet who they
Mm.
are. And
Mm.
so sometimes we're working in the shadow side of that aspect, because we can look at someone, we see a lot of an abundance of over sexuality in music now, because woman has lost her sacredness. We no longer, there's nothing wrong with sex and sexuality. There's nothing wrong with the beauty and celebrating the beauty of sex, but we've lost the remembrance of the sacredness of it, the sacredness of woman, and we've lost our sensuality. And so sensuality is connected directly to our hearts. So we see an overabundance of sexuality and perverted sexuality, and
Mm.
no sacredness in it, and a lack of sensuality of
Mm.
woman and woman. And what happened, several thousand years ago, when patriarchy took over, we saw a distorted view of what man was. We lost mother woman as the first guru, as the first teacher. When mother was revered as goddess of the creatrix of the universe, and we moved away from that and relegated her to a fertility cult figure, to a temptress, to being sinful, to all of these things. We see that reflected now. So we moved away from mother being the first teacher and guru and being revered as sacred and honored as sacred, and mother is associated with nurture, with nourishment, with sensuality, not overt sexuality, which though is a part of it and a beautiful aspect of it. And we moved over to a very distorted masculine view of conquer. And then women followed in line, or were basically beat into submission, for lack of a better word. And we've had this very now distorted view of ourselves. And so this journey of reclaiming the divine feminine is really necessary for our personal transformation and for this collective healing of humanity. But we're just seeing a distortion of what woman is, and them really not knowing and understanding the damage that we do when we um, desecrate or degrade the sacredness of our sexuality. So to me,
Well,
it's just a distortion of something very beautiful because they don't know and aren't aware. I wasn't aware. I didn't know.
mm,
I put out music that I'm not proud of. So, you know, I tiptoe when I kind of talk about it, because I always want to make sure that the message that I send, especially to those sisters, those women that are putting out that type of music, are that they know that I'm like I'm like I said, I'm the age to be their mother. And I want that to come because I am walking that path of reclaiming the divine feminine, of walking in love, walking in the true beauty way, which is the beauty of pure perception, and offering that to them as a mother figure and in a
mm,
loving way, because I know and understand that all things are changed through the elixir of unconditional love. And so I offer that love to them and saying that I know and I understand because I've been there before. Maybe not to the degree of what they're doing now, but I have been there before. So it's my hope and my wish and my desire that every woman know and understand and walk in the fullness of who she is as a sacred divine being, and walk in the fullness and beauty of her sexuality and sensuality, but understanding that it's sacred and that we are
mm,
the first teachers. We are the first guru, and the mother, that role that we have as first teacher, as first guru, we're seeing it reflected because we have mothers that are out um, spending all their time partying, drinking, getting high, cussing out their children, cussing in front of their children, shaking they ass naked on Instagram. And then we see the children following that example. Not that there's anything wrong with nudity, but we desecrate the sacredness and the beauty of the womb, of the woman, of the mother. And then we see it reflected back in the music. We see it reflected back. It's a reflection of the collective consciousness. So it's not me, you know, it's I don't judge it. um I think it is and can be very damaging. And I think that so many people are waking up now and remembering who they are and then making those changes. I don't think the change happens by bashing and degrading those that are doing it. I think the changes come by making them aware, especially as other women and women that are awakened, making them aware of what it is, what they're doing, what vibration does, what sound does, the power of sound and music that
mm,
it has on our
indeed.
bodies, on the waters of our bodies, and making them aware in that way. Everybody's not going to awaken in this lifetime. Everybody's not going to come along in this lifetime. Everybody has to walk their own path. So I try to not judge it, but offer that love and understanding and a wisdom that someone my age should have. And yeah, and just be
Mhm.
that example, you know, walking that out and offering an alternative, but really focusing on what I'm doing, because I know the more that where our attention goes, that's where the energy flows. And so I put my attention on what it is that I'm doing and what it is that I'm offering and the example that I'm being. Because you asked me something before that I didn't fully answer. You asked me, was it one thing that happened? And there were many things that happened. Well, one that I distinctly remember, and I was in my early 20s, I'm sorry, not early 20s, about mid to late 20s, maybe 26, 27. And and I had two children at the time. And I think I was pregnant with my third daughter. And I literally was sitting there looking at them. And I was thinking about some of the lyrics I wrote and some of the images that I had portrayed in videos. And I said, I literally was saying, heard a voice say, "Is this what you want for them?" And I was like, no. Like, I wouldn't want my children out portraying themselves in some of the ways that I had portrayed myself. And so it was like, what you gonna do about it? And I literally was like, I'm going to walk out whatever it is I got to walk out spiritually, because I felt this spiritual pull. I felt this spiritual draw to learn more about who I was as a
Indeed.
spiritual being. And I said, and I gave up a 7-figure record deal to go on the path of remembrance, and said, to me, my children's future, what I offer into the world, and how I present myself is more important than some dollars that I can get for literally selling my soul. A lot of people don't understand that, and that's okay. And it's not everybody's walking path. So I'm just here to walk mine out, to hold up a lamp and a light for others, to be a guide for others who may want to get on their own journey, but not here to judge it, but just to love and share wisdom and compassion, and help those others that may feel like they want to walk a different path as well.
Well,
So
let me. Okay, so with that being said, I have to, because I'm glad you said it like that, because I like to use modern examples that people are going through so they could try to find solutions. Based on what you said, um, how does that fit into this whole philosophy of think like a man, act like a woman? That a lot of women, well, I think Steve Harvey wrote a book about it, and a lot of women feel as though that's the approach to being successful. Because we live in an age where the majority of women are single parent households. They're single parent households, especially in a so-called Black community. Um, that mindset, a lot of women feel that has to be prevalent. So you're talking about sensuality and signing contracts, and you got to, it's either one way or this way, and you decided not to sign that contract. For a woman that's career driven, career minded, and she wants to succeed in this career driven world, how do you help her create a balance between this think like a man, act like a woman type of thing that we see going on right now?
well, I personally have never read the book or seen the
Well,
movie.
just the
And I
philosophy,
absolutely have
yeah.
never, right. And I've absolutely never subscribed to that mindset um, either. So, and I didn't not sign a deal. I actually did sign a deal. I got a lawyer to negotiate me out of a deal.
Okay.
And so for me, I asked the question, what does success mean to
Right.
the
Great.
individual?
Excellent.
So to me,
Yeah.
success never fully meant to me financial success solely, because if it did, I wouldn't at 20 something years old had gotten um, a lawyer to negotiate me out of a 7-figure deal, to lose money. And I've always been business minded. I've always been my mother and her husband own their own business. My father has always owned his own business. I own several businesses. I've always been business minded. But to me, success was never just attached to a dollar amount. And my husband and I were having a conversation today, this almost exact conversation, about people equating success with a monetary figure, because that's what the West has cultivated. And this is the mindset that the West has cultivated. And it says this American dream of getting mine and winning at all costs. And it's just about me. And it's not the it's not about family, it's not about tribe, it's not about the collective, it's about me and mine. And that's why we see people in the state they are. It's just about getting mine and getting money and getting the bag, as people like to say. And that's all that matters, and we equate that to success. You can go put out the most damaging, destructive messages, but it's legal. People like it. They like how it sounds. They like riding to it and vibing to it and make you feel good, make a lot of money, and people equate that with success. You can put out a messages calling every woman every bitch and this and that, and suck my D, like you said, and all these things. And we uphold them on a pedestal in the West and say, yeah, look, they made it. They successful because they have money. But I'll tell you this, I know a whole lot of people that got money. I've been in the industry for a very long time. I know a lot of people that got money. And I will say that a majority, and I'm saying that a majority of them that we claim are that are look at as successful are failures spiritually, are failures in the sense that they don't know who they are. They don't love and like themselves for the most part. I've seen it. I've personally witnessed it. Why do you think you see so many people with so much money kill themselves? Why do
Mm,
you see a billionaire hang themselves that supposedly
right.
like they have everything, constantly trying to fill a space with material things that can't be filled with that? And so for whatever reason, I can't even take credit for it that I came here incarnated in this body, in the family I came into with the African Black mother that I was birthed through, that instilled this in me and that encoded in my DNA that spirituality, it was who I am, that my spirit is who I am, and the material things, as long as we have and have to eat and have a roof over our heads, that all the other doesn't equate to success. But having a successful family, having being being happy and fulfilled with who we are on the inside has always been more important to me, which is why I could walk away from a deal that I wanted my entire life, that I got, and then I said, nah, I don't want it like that. I don't
Wow.
want it that bad. And
Wow.
so um yeah, I think this is just what the West promotes, it pushes. And especially when you have um and you see now with social media that we are now able to see even more this perception of success. We equate popularity with success. Oh, you got so many followers or so many people like what you're doing. It can be complete foolishness and nonsense leading you straight down a path of destruction. But because a lot of people like it and follow, we deem that success. I
Success.
don't
Yeah.
measure success in that same way. So if I can't do business in a way that is conducive to a collective benefit, if I can't do business in a way that is going to benefit not just myself, but my family, my community, um, the earth, even, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That then to me, that's not successful. If I go gain millions and millions of dollars, but I'm destroying people in the process, I'm destroying the earth in the process. To me, that's not successful. So I have a different view of what success is.
Mm,
And so it's a
okay.
lot of things I could be doing
Mm-hmm.
right now to be quote unquote successful in the eyes of the West that I would never do, because the space I'm in now spiritually, um, I can't do that. And it does not equate success to me. So, individuals have their own, and unfortunately, um, throughout the West and now a majority of the world, that's what we look at as successful. How much money do you have? How many followers do you have? Oh, you're successful now.
What's the theme of your new album Encoded? Like what message do you want to get out to the people?
Encoded has a lot of different messages encoded in it, which is why I called it
Mm-hmm.
Encoded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of deep messages. A lot of these messages in Encoded are merely channeled. you
Mm,
know
right.
my
I
ancestors
understand.
speaking through me, and I get
Mhm.
that pen because I still get the pen and write it down. I don't type my
Right,
phone. I'm
right.
old
I
school.
feel you.
The pen and paper, and I write it down. And those messages of um, really the message of this journey of reclaiming the sacredness of the divine feminine in all our beauty, in all our sensuality, and walking this beauty path, understanding that true beauty is the beauty of pure perception, the understanding and realization of the oneness of being, the interconnectedness of all things. Because part of what we said is people think that it's all about me, and if I can just get and I can just have, and I cannot understanding that everything you do affects everyone else. We like to think that every little decision we make is just about me. It's just going to affect me and maybe one other person in my immediate sphere of influence, but it affects everyone because everything is interconnected. We're all interconnected. And so this message of recognizing remembering, and then embodying our divine roles in serving humanity. That's what this record is about. It's about just remembering who we are on a very deep soul level, and not on this very surface level of what I got, what I can do. Um, you understand what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
a very
Yeah.
deep um, offering of light, and a call to personal transformation, a call to a collective healing for humanity. And so I've had so many people reach out to me saying, when I listen to these records, when I listen to the song, like I feel something happening in my body. And I'm like, that's beautiful. I give thanks to God. I give thanks to Goddess. I give thanks to the Spirit. I give thanks to the ancestors that spoke through me, and that I was a conduit to birth that. Because I've had, I mean, tons of people coming saying this has inspired them to walk this path of awakening,
Mm.
that they were on this path and they didn't know where to begin. And this music has inspired them too. And that's all it was. That's what I wanted. I wasn't worried about um, numbers. I wasn't worried about how many people. I just did the work. And people were like, oh, well, do you want it to go to this audience? And are you trying to do this? And what's the sound order? And I said, I'm not thinking about that. I'm detaching myself from the fruit of the work, and I'm just doing the work. Because if I start focusing on the fruit and the benefits, then your focus starts to drift. My focus was just on getting these messages out of love, of remembrance, of interconnectedness. My goal in life at this stage in my life is to become a portal of divine love, a portal of divine intoxication, having my feet planted firmly on this earth, my head in the heavens, and really being a conduit of heaven and earth. Walking, I keep saying that, walking this beauty
Yeah.
path, the true beauty path, which is leaving every person and every space you go into more beautiful than you found it. That's my goal. Do I always hit it? Probably not. But I try most of the time. If I come in your space, I'm coming in your space with an energy that I want to beautify it, and on a energetic level where you feel my energy when I enter the room, and I change the whole atmosphere of the room because I walked in the spirit of love and the divine feminine, and as an embodiment of the feminine aspect of divinity, and changed everybody in that space because they came into contact with me. That's how I want to affect people for a better. I want to come in and leave your space more beautiful. I want to come in and leave you better than I found you. That's my goal in life now. And I'm doing that through music. I'm doing that through other healing modalities. I'm doing it through these other sacred offerings, these offerings of sacred medicine that I offer, through sacred dance, through yoga, through medicinal herbs, these products that I create. And but right now, primarily through music, and through these other workshops, helping other women awaken to their path so they can change others, so they can change themselves, and then change their homes, change their environment, change their community, to ultimately change the earth. Because a lot of times we get real focused on ourselves and what we want and what we're going to do for ourselves, and we forget about this interconnectedness. And I'm like, we got to be mindful of everything we do consciously. What are we consuming? You know, everything we consume, we become. So, what are we listening to? What are we looking at? What are we taking into our mouths? What are we allowing people to put into our bodies by way of speech, by way of sex, by way of whatever offering someone may become with, because we become that. So, I'm reminding people of that. Consume consciously, consume from the earth consciously. You know what I'm saying? So,
Indeed.
that's that's what this record is a offering of that, wrapped up in wrapped up in my roots, which go back, or hip hop. It's still a hip hop album. If you go listen to it, people are pleasantly surprised. They're like, oh shoot, this is, I can ride to this. It's like a hip hop album, but it's talking about something. So I'm like, it's what came out. It was what was birthed through me.
What
And I'm grateful.
what do you I see people commenting in the chat room, and I've heard this before. What do you uh associate yourself as? What is your nationality? Are you black? Are you, people saying she looks Native American? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Because we always caught up in the wrong.
Yeah, yeah. You know us.
We
You know
always worried
us.
about the wrong stuff. I
You
done
know
gave y'all
us.
a whole bunch of, dropped a whole bunch of, we don't
Spiritual.
worry about what is she.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. So I've always considered myself a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, I was raised by Black women, by my Black mother, by my Black aunties in a Black neighborhood. And that's how I've always culturally defined myself and associated with. And that is where I am most comfortable. So I do have a lot of other ethnic makes. My mother's family is West African, Ethiopian, Tamil, South Indian, Black folks still. And my father's side is North African, Mediterranean, and Eastern European. So I have a mix of a lot of different ethnic groups, but I was raised again culturally as a Black woman, birthed by a Black woman, and I consider myself a Black woman. What other people consider me and see me as, that doesn't matter to me. Um, yeah, that just doesn't matter to me. And people are on their own, in their own space, and in their own on their own journeys. And yeah, it just I don't put a lot of focus on what other people think, because I mean, I've heard all kinds of things. I actually, honestly, it's so funny because growing up I didn't have, what we call the, if people want to say, oh, but she ain't really Black, she mixed, whatever, that's fine, you can, whatever you want to call me, I'm fine. I know what I call myself and what I
Mm,
associate as, and so to me that's what's most important. But I didn't have what a lot of people called a mixed kid issues growing up. To me, and I would probably say because I was birthed and raised by a Black woman, and as Black people, we are always loving and accepting. And so,
mhm, mhm,
but it was very clear to me. My mother passed away 6 years ago, and she's on my album though. I went there's a my mother was a gospel singer, and she also
mm,
she sang with Bloodstone. She sang R&B, jazz, and gospel. She professionally. And
mm,
my mother was a beautiful chocolate sister, and so that was my first. That's my first ideal of beauty, and I always wanted to. I saw my mother. My mother was the most beautiful thing to me, so I've always loved and revered my chocolate sisters, because that's my first ideal of beauty, because that is my mother and my family. And I always wanted to. I'm looking a little bit pale right now because it's getting colder outside. But I always wanted to be in the sun and be darker like my mother, and have this beautiful skin, and have my hair braided up like hers, or like picking it out trying to make it. But my mother always made sure I loved who I was too and how I looked. And so, but growing up, I never had these issues of who are you or what are you. I was always a Black woman. I grew up in a family and was considered a Black woman. I never had the issues of, oh, I don't know what I am and I'm confused and whatever. That was never my experience. So honestly, until I got older, and even more so in recent years, have people really started, and especially after I married my husband, and then people wanted to, oh, is it a, what is she, and blah 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 and whatever. So I've heard that more in
mm.
recent years than I
What you
ever
got
had
with
in
Griff?
my entire life. And I was like,
Griff is blacker than black. He's blackety
he's
black.
Black and Black. So they was like,
Yeah. Griff is
oh, Black,
blackety
Black,
black.
Black. And I was Black and Black.
Oh
So,
man.
I've heard that more in recent years than I've ever heard my entire life. But it's cool. I understand. I understand that people are where they are. But for me, that's, if people want to know, that's my ethnic makeup. That's my experience. It is what it is. I can't change that. Can't do nothing about it. Can't do nothing about the body I was born here in. Can't do nothing about the family I came here in. But I consider myself a Black woman, and, and that who has a multi-ethnic, background. So.
Indeed. Indeed. I want to let the people know. A lot of people have been asking me for like the last, pretty much this whole year. What's up with you and Griff? When you're gonna get going and back regular? When you're gonna have the show back on again? The me and Griff show will start again, not this Monday, but the Monday following this Monday. I don't know exactly what day that is, but stay tuned. Me and Griff will be back, and it will be video this time. It won't be phone. For about 5 years, me and Griff did the phone interview. So this
Yeah.
time, this time it will be
You can't.
video.
He's sitting over
So
here too, by the way. He can't be sitting over here now, like, now.
Griff, what's up, Griff? Griff,
Father,
come say what's up.
good.
Come say what's up, man.
Father Rich, what's happening, man?
Griff, man, come say what's up to the people, Griff. Come
All right,
on, man.
I think I can
There
do
you
it.
go. I got him, family. I got him.
What's up, Father Rich?
Yo, Griff, yo, the people been asking, yo, the chemistry me and you had when it come to interviewing, and it was like a
Right.
boxing match, back and forth, and they want that back. I told the people like we had to upgrade from the phone system, and we'll be back within 2 weeks.
Oh, give thanks. Yeah, so Monday we supposed to spark it off, and I'm writing down some subject matter now, man. So yeah, we definitely have to do that. Even those late nights when we came on and we didn't necessarily agree on everything, it made a good conversation, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother. We'll be back soon. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. All right. So I had to give a shout out to the OG right there. That's the OG Professor Griff. You got to give love to the OGs right there. Always got to do that. I want to ask you, Soleil, being in music and doing what you do and being on an elevated level with your music, how do you feel about women beefing in music? I mean, a lot of people feel as though only one woman could be on top. So Nicki can't be above Cardi, Cardi can't be of this one, and you can't be above that one. The competitiveness with women in music, how do you feel about that, being on your elevated consciousness?
I've never had any beef with women and other women in music, and I think again it speaks to the space that we are in and that we've been in a very long time, which is moving from a nurturing, nourishing matrilineal societies prior to the last 2,000 years to moving into this very masculine way of thinking, this competitive, linear thinking that has women thinking and moving in the same way. And then the industry and the consumers fuel that. And so we only feel and compete with others when we don't feel safe in our space. And women have not felt safe for a very long time in the world. And so when you feel really safe in a woman, I mean, as a woman, when you feel really grounded as a woman, when you know and understand that there is space for everyone, and that as women, we have always, in ancient times, rallied with one another, supported one another, come together to dance, to sing, to uplift, to care for each other's children. We move so far away from that we're in this dog eat dog mindset of, again, I say distorted masculinity, because it's not true sacred masculinity that operates in that way, but this very distorted masculine view that we have taken on, and especially as Black women, because we also have on top of that encoded in our DNA traumas on a whole other level. And so we know that trauma, deep trauma, changes and alters DNA. This is scientific. This is not just some spiritual woo-woo, though I love woo-woo. And I'm super woo-woo, but this is on a scientific level. We know that trauma, deep traumas, alter DNA. And so we need some deep healing modalities that work on deep trauma, altering our genetic DNA encoding for healing and wholeness. And so we're just seeing all of the trauma being played out. And because so many of us are in that same space, we promote it, because we see, again, it's just a reflection of the collective consciousness. We are seeing the internet has given us a lens into the state of the spiritual wellness of the world, and it's not a good state. And so they're doing nothing but reflecting the collective consciousness, and we're holding up a mirror to us as a society, showing us all the work that we need to do. And so I'm here doing the work. I'm here doing healing women's work. I was just at the Locks conference in Philly, doing a sacred embodiment workshop and using movement-based modalities to move and heal trauma, because trauma, we can't just talk deep embedded trauma away from our people, from our communities. It's embedded deeply, and trauma is deeply embedded in the subconscious, and you access the subconscious by accessing most often that reptilian brain, bypassing that thinking brain and moving into body-based healing modalities. And so those are a lot of the primarily modalities that I use for that. But it really is just a reflection of the state that we are in, the state of humanity, the state of woman. And it's even more important to me when I see those things to continue in this work of this journey of helping others remember the sacredness of woman, and um, coming into this awareness of our innate divinity in our humanity. That doesn't mean stuffy, boring, I can't do anything. It is a really cultivating this conscious, intimate relationship with the feminine aspect of divinity, overcoming deep traumas and wounds so that we can live in a state of harmony, so that we can begin to love ourselves, so that we can love others, so we can understand that there is an abundance for all of us, and that we don't have to. One of my teachers said we can have anything we want if we're willing to first help someone else get it. Because
Wow.
everything we do affects each other. Everything we do in some type of karmic way is coming back to us. And Paramahansa Yogananda said like this. He said, when you offered me poison, you didn't realize that my life was one with your own. So if people understood more the truth of what they are doing, when you offer poison, whether it's somebody over there in the chat box offering poison, or it's another sister offering poison to another sister, or somebody behind their keyboard offering poison to someone that they don't know, or another sister offering poison to another sister that's trying to come up just like she is, you are inadvertently poisoning yourself, because we are all interconnected. And the cosmos teaches us that, understanding that we're the microcosm, this reflection, this holographic reflection of the macrocosm. When we understand that interconnectedness, we understand that we have a duty and responsibility to offer out what it is that we want to receive, because we don't get to bypass the laws of nature. And those laws of nature dictate that what it is, you may not come back around the exact same way, but when you offer out poison, some type of poison is coming back around. We are inadvertently poisoning our own bodies when we're offering out poison. So people just don't know and understand, because we have been conditioned for so many years. We've lived in this toxic society for so many years. It's been encoded into the waters of our body. And then what makes it even more damaging is that people don't understand the power. We're talking about music. People don't understand the power of sound and what it does. We are 70% water by volume, 99% water on a molecular level.
Yikes.
So we're more water than anything. On a molecular level, we are 99% water. Sound travels 5 times more fastly and efficient through water than it does through air. So before we have even realized and heard the sound, it's affected the water of our body. Our DNA is held together by hydrogen bonds. That's water. We know, if you studied any studies on water and sound, what the effects that sound have physically on water and the crystalline structure of water in our body. So what we speak, the vibration of what we think, the music we listen to, all has a deep, profound effect on the waters of our body, our DNA, and literally changes it. People don't know and understand that. And then we wonder why we're walking around in the states that we are in. When you understand that, it's very difficult then to spew poison, to spew hatred, to spew toxicity. But we have a whole lot of healing to do as a community, as a people, but as also as a human kind. And so I'm continuing to do that work and to offer that work out, because I do know and understand the depth of it. And it's really sad when you sit and watch the state that we're in, and the damage that it's doing to us as a people. And we like to just and just bypass nothing, and it's just entertainment, and it's not, and whatever. But no, it's very deep and powerful. And so when you know and understand that, it's very difficult to offer out poison because I'm inadvertently poisoning myself.
It's an amazing way. I was just talking to a brother, Seven Bomar, and he was talking to me about the science of the mind and how the mind creates division. This is our biological avatar, and we're all connected through this web. But the mind creates this form of division, and we think our thoughts and our feelings are separate from us. And so it just reminded me of what you just said just now. So
Well,
I
our
definitely.
perception controls our behavior.
Mm,
How we
go ahead.
perceive things
Yeah.
controls our behavior. And so the majority of our behavior comes from those deeply encoded things in our subconscious and how we perceive them. And we can only see what we have these perception filters to see. And a lot of these perception filters were taught to us, and a lot of them through birth. So what our mother's environment was, how our mother interacted with the environment, that includes her relationships, everything that happened. Um, those are the perception filters that we received and coded into our DNA, into that water that we were in. And so it's important to know what beliefs we're selecting, because they literally rewrite our genes. Knowing understanding how we perceive the world controls our behavior, and knowing that in the mind is where we win and lose most of our battles. So yeah, absolutely, we have to keep these perception filters clear. We have to access the subconscious. We have to really um, examine what it is that we believe and why, because a lot of it is from distorted perception filters that we receive through conditioning, through cultural conditioning, and then through our genetic coding. So yeah, for sure.
Indeed. So your new video, Daughters of the Earth, I want us to leave them with the video. I'm going to put the link to the video in the description, family. So you click on the link in the description and you can see the video. But to close out with, my sister, my goddess Soleil, tell the people what message with this video and just moving forward. We about to go into the year 2020, and everybody's saying this is the perfect vision. 2020, you know, when you got perfect vision, they say 2020. So this is the year perfect vision. This is the year everybody should see what's going on. For your last mentions, my sister, let everybody know what you think about 2020 and your current video.
It is a time of a great awakening, and so many people awakening and remembering who we are as divine beings. And I think that going into 2020, we're going to see even more clearly the veils are being removed, the veils of illusion that we are these bodies, that we're these physical shells. We should revere this body and temple we're in, but know and understand that we're not it. Knowing and understanding a more clear understanding of the fact that we are all interconnected, and that how we treat the earth, how we treat the waters of the earth, how we treat one another is how everything else will become. So being mindful of what type of attitude that we are taking in everything, what type of attitude we're giving out everything, really coming into this daughter of the earth is really a remembrance and a reminder that how we treat the earth, how we treat the waters is how everything else becomes, because we take it all in. Sadhguru, one of my teachers, says every worm, every insect, every animal is working for the ecological well-being of the planet. And it's only we humans who claim to be the most intelligent species here who are not doing that, because we're all worried about ourselves. We are worried about not understanding, though, that if there is no health and well-being of the planet, because we're all interconnected, we won't need to worry about ourselves, because it won't be no cells. They'll be gone. So it's a reminder of who we are, of our innate divinity. It's a reminder of who we are as children of the earth. And it's just a sacred offering that I will say was channeled through my ancestors, because I usually write really slow, and I take really a lot of time with the songs that I write, and I write my lyrics myself. And that song, I got the track And I never write a song like in a day. I sat up the night, wrote that song, knocked it out, and it was it. So it really was channeled through spirit and the ancestors of what needed to come through. And I just was a vessel for it to come through. So yeah, this remembrance that I keep talking about.
You keep bringing that word up, remembrance.
Yeah.
Remembrance.
Remember it. How
Very
you gonna remember
important.
it?
I
Remember
mean,
mother's wisdom. Remember the power of the womb. All of the mysteries of the cosmos brings us right back to the power of the womb. You know, remember your true divine nature. Remember who you are. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is about. Remembering to leave people better off than you found them. You know what I'm saying? Remember to leave things more beautiful than you found them. Remember to beautify everything you come in contact with through your energy. You know? So that's what this is about. That's what this entire project is about. That's what my entire life's work at this point is about.
dope. Leave the people with some contact information if they want to. How can they contact Soleil if they want to reach out to you?
They can contact me through my website is iamsoleil.com. IASOLE.com. I am Mrs. Soleil on Instagram. I share most of my offerings there and where I'll be and what I'm doing and classes and workshops. So it's Mrs. Soleil, MRSSOLE. And my wellness site is Devi Tribe Wellness, DEVI Tribe Wellness.com. So those are a few of the ways that they can contact me.
Excellent, family. I hope you all enjoyed the show today. I don't think this sister is her music, this goddess. Not only women should hear her music and listen to her message, but men as well. I don't want you to think it's one-sided, and because we mentioned the word divine feminine, that it's a woman thing. I think this is something that, men should study as well, what she's talking about.
Absolutely.
And because like she mentioned her divine mother and my divine mother. It's just something that we have to worship when we understand it.
Let me say this on that real quick before you go. So one of my teachers is my teacher that initiated me into the goddess traditions. He is a Tamil guru in a traditional tantra, not westernized BS tantra. Well, I shouldn't call it because I shouldn't call it that, but not westernized version of tantra, but traditional tantra, which is mantra, yantra, and ritual, not I ain't going to that. But so he is a man who teaches and a master of the living goddess tradition. And his whole life's work is about reclaiming the sacredness of woman. And he says that men need to be stable pillars for women to rely on so that the feminine can express their creative powers to benefit the whole of creation. So when women are able to safely express their creative power, who they are, when they are revered as sacred, when they are put back in their proper place, then the whole of creation benefits. So he talks about that men need to be initiated into this remembrance of the sacredness of woman, into the goddess realm, because it benefits the entire of creation. Men benefit greatly from understanding and putting holding space for women to express their divine feminine nature as nurturers, as nourishers, as lovers. We're able to express that. And men used to quote unquote worship, some people get caught up in that term, but worship the divine feminine within their partnerships, their mother. They view them as an embodiment of the divine mother of creation. And that's the only way that we really will bring a sense of peace and harmony back into the earth, is when woman is put back in her rightful place. That's not just men's job to do. That's our job as women to reclaim that. And for men to be stable pillars, as he said, to hold space so that we have a safe space to express that and to be the nourishing. You can't be nourishing and nurturing when you're living in fear.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a powerful force of liberation and transformation, not just for women, but for men as well. All of creation benefits from that.
Maybe that's where they get the saying happy wife, happy life. Because when your wife is happy, the whole of creation is happy.
Exactly. But women have to know not to abuse that either, because that's an abuse of power. So women are very powerful, and being abuse that power as well. So really, when we walk in the fullness of who we are, though, we understand that we don't abuse that power, that innate power that we have.
Do you think that's why women fell? If things used to be a matriarchal, do you think women abused their power and their magic, and that's why the patriarchal power took over?
That would just be my personal opinion on answering that, because I don't 100%. I don't personally believe that is why.
Okay. That's what I was. Okay. All right.
But, though I'm sure there were women at times abusing their power, but as a general overall, that would just be me surmising, and that's not what I think happened. But my opinion doesn't really matter because we don't know for sure. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, well, I want to thank the family for tuning in. Thanks for anybody who donated. Thanks for everybody who went and checked out and coded by Soleil. If you didn't see the link in the description bar, I will put it on by the time this program's end. Make sure you check out this sister's music. It's absolutely amazing. I love her first video. I also loved her video from her last album as well. So this is the message, that the frequency that we need to be on right now. So I want to thank the sister for coming on the program, and we're signing out. This is Brother Ritz, Soleil, peace.
So much.
First and foremost, I want to tell everybody about the 2020 Ascension Conference happening November 3rd in New York City. I advise everybody to come to New York City, and if you're unable to come, make sure you get the pay-per-view live stream. But it's going to be an absolutely amazing spiritual event. The best way for us to bring in 2020. We got Red Pill speaking, Blue Pill speaking, Sri Master Gano Grills, and Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge. The brother has over 1 million subscribers on Instagram and throughout his networks. And it's just going to be a magnificent spiritual event. Make sure you're there. That's in St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, besides that, make sure you support King Simon November 10th. He's having his 24th celebration in promotion and production, and he's going to have a list of speakers there, and it's going to be magnificent. I know my brother KT, the Arch Degree, will be in the building that day, as well as other speakers. Also, make sure you hit the brother up as far as numerology. He will help you in terms of that science, so make sure you contact the brother in terms of that. Shout out to my brother Mike, who has the crowns. If you see my brother Styles P right here, but you'll see everybody wearing these crowns in the conscious community. Red Pill, Blue Pill, Sarnetta, everybody got these crowns, and I advise you to get yours. All right. Besides that, I want to give a shout out to Lisa Brown. She has the best Kemetic yoga mats in the world, and everybody's getting them at this point. So I advise you to get yours, and make sure you get your yoga on. Shout out to Parindra Rajadeep, who got the organic products as far as stimulating growth, as far as alopecia, pain relief, and other things. Make sure you contact these individuals for help with that. Besides that, make sure you hit up riversideTaichi.com for the joint balance formula. This has been selling great on the website. Glucose support formula, that's something else that's real good for stable blood sugar, so make sure you contact the brother for that as well. All right, family, besides that, we're going to get to the program.